Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more.
I was on the edge of knocking on death's door. Life's tough and it can change so quickly. I was young, I was fit, fast, strong and healthy. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my life nearly got taken away from me. My name is Josh Komen and I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia.
In this episode, I have the privilege of interviewing Josh Komen. A mate of mine sent me the video that I just shared, the start of the recording with you, a number of weeks ago, and it genuinely brought me to tears. Watching the battle that Josh has been through and how openly he shares it, and just really relating to the fact that he was a runner, made me want to reach out and see if he'd be open to coming on the podcast to share his story and his journey and what he has overcome. And we got chatting, hit it off really well, and fortunately he agreed to jump on, and I'm very grateful for that he did, because I took away so much and it really put life into perspective for me. Right, he was one of New Zealand's fastest 800-meter runners. He is a new father and he's living his life on his own terms. We talk about where his competitive nature came from. We have a lot of a great conversation around roles that our dads played in our lives and forgiveness. We talk about his diagnosis and so much more. Now, if this episode triggers you at all, reach out to a local service. Lifeline here in Australia, 13 11 14 is a great number to get in contact with. Before we dive into today's episode, I did want to share with you more information about the Strong Men of Value Academy. Currently, we have over 100 members who are based and situated all around the world, of men who are creating direction for their life through using physical fitness, mental fitness, and gratitude. We focus on those three pillars because from my own journey, I wouldn't be the man that I am today without prioritizing and having created success with my physical health. And that's our own definition. I'll leave that up to you. And then I realized that mental fitness was equally important. There was no point having all the muscles and the mobility and the energy and vitality if mentally I didn't know who I was and what I valued. So we help men work in that space as well. And then finally, you can have both of those, but if you're always striving for more and never feel like you're enough, which means being grateful for what you have, then it's you always feel like you're missing something. So we work together with that perfect bundle. If you're keen to find out more, if you're ready to take 2023 to the next level, the Academy is where you can do it, and we are taking it to the next level. And actually, we've just introduced and released our courses program, which is available as part of the membership for all of our Academy members. And on Thursday's episode, I'll have Brad on the show, and we'll be talking about what is coming up in November. So if you're interested in learning more, definitely tune in on Thursday. Finally, if you're here for the first time, hit the follow button wherever you were listening and leave a rating and review, because all of those help us help other people out there see that this show has great value, and you're almost giving a little virtual recommendation. That's enough from me. Let's dive into today's episode with Josh Komen. The Man That Can Project podcast, a podcast empowering career-driven men to live more fulfilling lives. We are here to challenge your beliefs, redefine success, and talk about the important stuff in a relatable way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. My name's Lachlan Stuart. Let's get into it. Josh, welcome, mate.
How you doing, Lockie? Great to be here, bro.
Mate, I'm so excited for this. We were just talking offline, and it's funny. The day that I reached out to you, 2 people in one day are like, "You've got to check out this guy," and they sent me a video you posted, and the video literally put me in tears, man. Like talking about you didn't want to put pressure on your mum and the challenges that you were going through, and I really related to your background in running. We were just throwing some chat around as well. It came from that background as well.
Yeah, you just chucked it out there that you're faster than me, bro. So,
mate, I reckon you'd have me now.
No, mate,
too heavy.
No.
And then your sister married one of my mates' brothers.
Yes, correct.
So we were trying to work out what the correct terminology of that is, but we'll just go with it's confusing, but it's awesome.
Yeah, there's a connection there. My sister actually, we were just chatting about that before. She said, "Oh, you got to meet this guy, Lachlan Stuart." So she's going to be pumped to hear this, mate. She was the one who put it out there. I said, "No, Lockie's already got hold of me." One day prior, she had a chat. So, so she's going to be excited to hear this conversation. So I'm going to give my sister a bit of a shout out. Love you, Rach.
Yeah, it's awesome that you can be on. And mate, so much spoke to me from your message, and I really just wanted to have a conversation with you. It was a 3-minute clip, brought me to tears, inspired the hell out of me, left me wanting to know so much more about you. And that's why I sort of slid into your DMs, and I was grateful that you responded really quickly and we were able to make this happen.
Not a problem, mate.
Inspiring story, and obviously there's a lot that was left out of that video. I'd love to start back at the running, right? You were one of New Zealand's leading runners, in the 800 was your event, which is lovely. I can geek out over that. What were some of the, from a young age driving into the sport, how did you know you had the potential to be an elite athlete, and what sort of drove you to do that?
Yeah, I was brought up in a small town here, so it wasn't hard to be good at a sport, yeah. I did a lot of sports, but running, I just really, really enjoyed running. It was like a moving meditation for me. My sister would say I had like ADHD and I had to be moving, and it was just, it was a place where I really disconnected, and I just really felt myself, intuitively myself, and I just really enjoyed it. And when you enjoy something and you pursue it, you become quite good at it. And then I picked up a coach here. I was fortunate enough to have the 1967 Boston Marathon winner, Dave McKenzie. He picked me up, and I was from the small town here, small little town in Rananga.
Wow.
Yep, 1967. That was the same marathon Catherine Switzer run, the first female to kind of run a marathon. And so he won that race, and it was the fastest recorded time on American soil. At the time, it was about 2:15:46, I think. So it was pretty cool.
It is motoring.
Yeah. So he started coaching me, and he saw some potential in me, and kind of got the best out of me. And then another fella come on board, Jack O'Connor. He saw that I had a lot of speed. I was doing the 100 and like high 11s, and I was getting a lot of Ks on the legs, and so he established more speed and gravitated towards the 800. And all of a sudden, I was winning some Canterbury titles, which is, I live on the west coast, so Canterbury's over on the east coast. It's quite a big province. It's the biggest province in the South Island, second biggest in New Zealand. And I started picking up a few titles, and all of a sudden, at 20 years old, I got second at the New Zealand Champs in the senior men's my first year, which was, I was training by myself here in Greymouth on a grass track. I didn't have a synthetic track. By myself, solo, and I thought once I got second in that race to the former 800-metre champ, he'd been the reigning 800-metre champ for many years, and I thought, holy heck, there's potential here. I could do something with this. So I packed my bags and I moved over to Christchurch to put myself in a good environment where I could get the best out of myself and train with other people and get on a proper track, mate.
That would have been game-changing. How were the calves when you got on the synthetic track after running on grass for a while?
I definitely had to adjust, but as I said before, I was travelling back and forth to race on QE2 over in Christchurch and some synthetic tracks. So I had a bit of adjustment there, but it wasn't too bad. But they were definitely tight, mate. Yeah.
I got back on the synthetic track last year, and I couldn't walk for like a couple of days after it. Coming from the grass, I was like, the old muscles don't enjoy it.
How long was it since you ran prior to that?
It had been since 2008, since my final year in school.
Jeez, man. So whether it was a synthetic track or not, the calves would have been tight.
Mate, it was I'm going there with a beard and what was I, 30, and the guys that I was running against at the meets were literally 14, 15, 16, and they were beating me. It was so humbling. I was like, I can't lose to you guys. You're tiny. You don't even have a beard yet. And then they whooped me.
I tell you, I've just started playing squash. My wife got me into it 2 years ago, and I got beaten by a 13-year-old girl. So
it's humbling.
It's so humbling, and it's so humbling. And I credit her. She's the current New Zealand champ, actually. So
your wife is, or the 13?
No, the 13-year-old. Yeah,
I was like, wow.
No,
that's
she
awesome.
smoked me. So yeah, definitely humbling. I can relate to that.
Where do you feel your competitive mindset came from? Like, because 800 meters is a brutal event.
Yeah, it's funny. It wasn't until I got diagnosed that I really kind of found out where my competitive nature came from. You know, I got psychological help. We can talk about that later. But you know, I was the oldest child, and I wanted to be seen by my father, and I wanted to be really, really good so he could see me. He was a very hard worker, and he had an incredibly tough childhood. He had me, and he worked hard. He had no money growing up, and basically grew up in poverty in a way. He lived in an orphanage for a long time, and his role of loving me was trying to work hard to provide money for me that he didn't have, and I didn't see that as a kid. And I just wanted to say, "Hey, Dad, I'm here." And we had a chat about that, with the psychologist, and that's probably where my competitiveness come from. You know, trying to be seen in front of my father. Yeah.
It's a powerful realization because, as you were saying that, I was sitting there going, "That sounds exactly like me." And our parents obviously were doing what they, as you said, I didn't see it as a young kid. I just didn't understand it. But knowing what we know now, it's easy to look back and go, I can definitely appreciate and respect why they did what they did.
100%.
And do you feel that has shaped you, the way it shaped you has been positive?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, me and my father, we didn't have the best relationship, and, you know, he'll testify to that as well. You know, he was always working, but, you know, when I got diagnosed and seen my dad and he saw me, I saw him cry for the first time in my life, and we finally connected, and it's like, holy shit, you know, my dad really does love me. And then I got some help, and he broke all this stuff down, and, you know, I really saw my father working his ass off to provide for me and my sister and my brother, to give me the life that he hadn't had as a kid, you know, and that was him showing me the love, you know. You know, as a kid, you want a hug and a kiss and, hey, Dad, how are you? But he was at home, get out of my way, I need to sit down. And he worked massive hours at the coal mine and at the meatworks and stuff. But we have a great relationship now, and it's fantastic. Like, he's one of my best mates. Yeah, we
awesome.
Really chat. And it's helped us both. From what I went through, it's helped us both. We've both seen each other. You know, because he wasn't a sportsman and I just loved sport. He was, but we had this connection, you know, seeing one another at our most vulnerable times. And it was a connection that brought us really close together.
It's so powerful that the desire to be seen by your dad drove you to be so competitive. And I believe that competitiveness is one of my greatest qualities, and I love people like yourself who are extremely driven and competitive and ambitious. Sometimes it may be a bit over the top depending on situations. You're like, ease up, mate. It's not everything's a race. However, there's so many things in life where the competitive edge and pushing yourself to demand more from yourself than maybe others expect can help you achieve more than many won't.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, definitely. And that really gave me the edge to go through what I went through and keep persevering. You know, it sets a real foundation for your life with whatever you want to go through. You know, that sporting competitiveness, whether you pursue business or a job or whatever, you know, just trying to be better for the next day. That's a great quality that I found in sport and competing against other people.
Do you still have that competitive drive today?
I do, mate, but it's more controlled now. I mean, even on the squash court when I'm playing that 13-year-old girl, you want to win. You play to win,
Yep.
and you're doing your best. But at the end, I don't storm off or get my head down or anything. It's like, great game. It's awesome. I'm just grateful to be able to play sport again, because I honestly thought I couldn't. The doctors thought I couldn't. So I'm just stoked to be playing sport. But yeah, definitely, mate. I'm very competitive. That's innately within me. That's never going to leave. But it's like a switch now. I know when to turn it off and leave it there.
Well, let's go back to the diagnosis, right? So you were prepping for the New Zealand titles. You were ready to hit your peak.
Yep. So I was 23 years old and I was ready. 2011, this was my year. I had a great off season, got some good Ks on the legs. We built some speed, and I knew I was the fastest in the country that year. I ran a race at 1:51, and we hadn't really established much speed. And I thought, holy heck, this is going to be a fantastic year. I've got the New Zealand title in the bag, and we were going to go over to the Australian champs. And I was truly confident that this year was going to be a great year. But some things don't go to plan, Lockie, and I didn't realise that as a kid. 23. I thought if you work hard and pursue your goals, you achieve your dreams. That's the idea that I had in my head. But it doesn't work that way sometimes, and I really had to learn quickly. I was out running with a friend. I tore my ankle, tore the ligaments of my ankle for no reason really, and the body was just deteriorating. I did a bike race because I couldn't run. I fell off my bike, and I had to get back up, and that competitive spirit that we talked about before that willed me to finish the race. I said, get back on that fucking race and finish this race, man. Finished the race, threw it over, and I said, I'm never riding a bike again. I slept for a week and had night sweats, and then I woke up, had a drink of water, and I just collapsed at the sink. My brother picked me up, took me to the hospital, and then the next day I had my diagnosis of acute myeloid leukemia, which leukemia is a cancer in the blood, and I was just blown away. The carpet got swept off my feet, mate. I just was in complete dismay. Yeah.
Do you remember, you talk about the carpet being ripped out, your identity up until that point, and I'm just making an assumption here, sorry about that, but I just would, as an athlete and from that competitive background and at a young age, most of the time our identity is what we do, right? It's an athlete, it's a rugby player. For you, having that whole rug pulled out from you and everything that you had built to from that point, what did that feel like for you?
Oh, that I was worthless. I was nothing, because my whole, as you said, the persona that I thought I associated myself to, that runner, that fit, fast, healthy, strong Josh Komen, the man that could do anything, I could do a standing backflip and things like that, had completely gone. I could barely walk again, I was feeling pain inside my body that I hadn't felt before. You and I, we both know short-term pain for long-term gain, especially when we're running. We push through that barrier, but this pain lingered and continued. And also, so I was seeing my family in distress, crying. My mum was hysteric, and I thought I was putting more pain on them than I should be, and I was hurting them. So I kind of bottled myself away and didn't really talk to anybody. And it became a rule in my room: no crying, nothing like that. Whether it should have been, we should have been expressing our emotions, but I bottled everything away and tried to take it on my shoulders, like that Josh Komen, that runner, did. But yeah, not being able to run, locked in a hospital bed, mate. That was my solace. Out in the bush, running through the trees, feeling the wind, feeling nature around me, and all of a sudden it was gone. I thought I was completely worthless, and I had nothing. My life amounted to nothing. Yeah.
It's a pretty rapid shift.
It was extreme, yeah.
From what you said, one thing that really stood out to me there was when you said there was this no cry zone. You didn't want what you were going through to impact your parents and those that love you most. So you sort of really withdrew, and I think that's a common thing for a lot of men. We don't feel we can, we don't want to burden people, and I feel that may come from, I guess it represents you as a person. You worked really hard, you put the effort in, but you wanted to carry it yourself and you wanted to get through that. And I think as men, we look at that and we're like, yeah, that's awesome. That's the right thing to do. But there's a time and a place where we do need to let those that love us most in. And we are, we do need to have people to lean on as well, because life's fucking tough, man. And as you know more than most, we need to have those support networks around us, and we need to be in a position ourselves to be okay to lean on that when when it's necessary.
Sure, I have a saying, you're not using all your strength unless you ask for help. I have that now, and I know when to ask for help now. I've got a great wife. We can talk about that later, but great people in my corner that I can really open myself up to and communicate, because I tell you, Lockie, holding those thoughts away that I had inside my head, it nearly took my life for it. Because I was brought up in a tough town. I was a line mechanic by trade, and I worked with very tough men. We didn't talk about emotions and things like that and how we're feeling. It was just like, you're busy? Yeah, I'm busy, mate. And that was a good thing. But it was never that deep conversation of, how are you? What's going on, And that's how I see people now. I don't really see people as their physical sense. I try and look into their heart and understand, like, is everything okay? And that's when I want to have that conversation. And I wasn't mature enough to have that at 23.
So how did you learn to look into the heart? Because when you say that, there's a lot of blokes that go, get the fuck away from me, man. None of this.
Yeah,
and that used to be me. And as you said, you grew up in that sort of tough upbringing where that's the way we are as men. But as you say now, it's a beautiful experience to truly be able to connect with people and share how you feel and ask them about more than just, I'm busy, mate. How's your family? Is there anything that's going on in your life that you want to chat about, or things like that? How did you transform to feel comfortable with that?
Well, it took a while, Lockie. It really did. I mean, that was when we've got to probably build up to that, but
I bounce around a lot, mate.
No. It's totally fine, because it's a valid question. But it took me a while, because I had my diagnosis and I was locked up in the hospital room. I had months of chemo and I was in isolation for a month, and I'll get out for 2 weeks. And I just couldn't contain the thoughts that were going in my head. I was my worst enemy. Every discriminative sentence I could say, you're weak, you're pathetic, you're a fucking loser, you're a fucking cunt, you're nothing, And I would never, ever say this to anybody. That's the thing. I wouldn't say it to anybody, but I was my own worst inner critic. And I thought I was an absolute burden. And one night when I was out, we stayed at this place called Granui House, and it's a 6-7-story building, and I was on the 5th floor. And I thought, I can't take it anymore. I'm nothing. So I really thought about taking my life, and I went to the balcony, put a foot over. And this is always something hard to talk about, Lockie. As I was doing this, mate, I felt this wind hit the side of my face, and I turned around and I saw my mum's cup of tea on the bench, and her love just hit my heart. And I just pulled myself away, and I said, I cannot put the pain that I'm feeling inside my mum. Her love was too great. And I walked away, and I just cried hysterically, mate. And it was just a tough moment. And it's hard to talk about, but I sat there with my bald head, fingers in my head, and it was just screaming, like, what's going on? What's going on? Why did you think about doing that? And then it came back to that saying, you're not using all your strength till you ask for help. And, I had to use my strength and ask for help. And I asked the hospital if they could get some psychological help for me. I needed to talk to someone. I needed to communicate and understand what was going on.
It just gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, I normally tear up, but I've been getting more help with this too when I talk about this, to kind of control it a bit more so I don't get quite hysterical, because it was so tough, mate. And to this day, I asked myself, what were you thinking? And the fact was, I wasn't thinking. So I sat down with the psychologist, and he enabled me some tools, and we dug deeper into my childhood and got all this out. But fundamentally, it wasn't me, Josh Komen, that wanted to die. Not me, the person who I was. It was just the pain and the situation that I was in that I wanted to die, just this temporary situation. And I had to separate the two, that the situation wasn't me, it was me. And then it went back to the running. It's like, well, what did I get from running? And I asked myself some questions, and it was that hard working ethic, pursuing goals, getting the job done, trying your utmost best. So I thought, well, I'll try my best to do what I can do in this hospital room, yeah? And so I went back into my visualization that I did before a race, and we had this beautiful room outside my hospital. I could look out into the gardens, and I could see people and watch them, and I used to try and connect with them just by visualizing, just things like that. And I did a lot of diary writing, and I started to open up and talk to people. Now, I didn't talk to everybody, but I talked to people that I trusted, yeah? My good mate Hamish Patterson, and a good friend Ruth, and my mum, and I opened myself up a bit. But it was still physically tough. But I had those anguished thoughts, those bad thoughts, but I knew how to deal with them. I gave myself time to cry, didn't hold it back. I just cried and let it out. And it was just that help, being able to communicate with my psychologist and enabling me some tools. And he also gave me a book. It's called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Yeah.
Beautiful book.
It's in my top drawer by my bed, that and the Bible. And there are two books that I kind of read while I was in hospital. And, what Viktor Frankl went through was just horrific. It was nothing in comparison to what I was going through. And fundamentally with his book, he has, the psychological realm called logotherapy. And it was just basically making your own choice. You have the freedom to make your own choice in any direction you're in. And he suffered tremendously in Dachau and Auschwitz, and he always made a conscious choice that there was meaning in something and meaning in suffering. And I tried to find meaning in what I was going through. And the fact is, I tried to be the best cancer patient I could be in some strange way, and that was trying to get through what I went through. So that was kind of the psychological shift there, and a lot happened in that 4-month process. I became eternally aware of myself, and I started thinking more and seeing other people with their suffering, because I had that window, and I tried to understand what they were thinking, and I could see the despair on their face all of a sudden. And I was trying to understand that everybody's going through something. It's just not me. So this happened over a period of time, obviously, but that was the start of it.
What do you feel the bigger meaning, like you mentioned, you got to think about why things were happening to you and you have control over things. Like, what do you feel the meaning that you take for that and the direction that you've now gone in with your life? What do you feel that meaning you've been given is?
The meaning to help and encourage others through their hard and testing times. That's my purpose now, and that gives me full meaning of why I get up every day. I mean, I know everybody in this life is going through something, whether it's small. It doesn't have to be cancer and what I went through. I mean, I went through a whole heap more, but I know someone's going through something, and I can be that void to inspire encouragement to continue, because in New Zealand right now, our suicide rate's at the highest level it's been, and probably Australia as well. And, these young kids taking their life for me, where I see so much potential in life within it. And I just see that maybe I'm that figure now going through what I went through, and people can come and talk to me with open, honest conversations, and there's a trust aspect that whatever they say to me stays with us. And I just want to create that space, knowing that I've gone through something significant and everyone's going through something, and I'm here to have a conversation to know that things will get better if you have the courage to continue.
I want to give you like a big high five and hug at the same time. Legend. So you've been faced with death twice, ultimately, one with the diagnosis potentially, and then obviously putting your foot over that railing. Being in that position where you realize that life is not everlasting, how has that changed the way you want to live your life?
I understand death, and I know how quickly life can be taken away. I really understand that. I mean, I had 2 diagnoses of cancer. I had to get treatment in Melbourne. I had heart attacks. I've had the worst pain known to man, trigeminal neuralgia, and I know how quickly things can change. And I know after this conversation, I might not wake up tomorrow. There's potential there. Things do happen. And for me, it's just taking every opportunity I see, having a conversation with you, having the gratitude to just walk, to be able to walk, to breathe, to be able to think. There's opportunity within that. And we have so much within us, we really do, but sometimes we're disconnected from our inner self. And, every day provides an opportunity. And I encourage others to wake up for the day and find that opportunity, seek it out,
So your journey, or I guess battle, challenge, however you like to word it, has been going on for over 10, is it over 10 years now?
Yeah, so I finished treatment in Melbourne a few years ago, so it was 10 years in total getting treatment. I got diagnosed again after that first diagnosis. Cancer came back after a year.
How long were you in remission from that point?
Yeah, I was in remission for a year, and so I got out of hospital, bro, and I went surfing over here on the coast. We got some good swell. I went surfing. I just thought and meditated and prayed and asked myself what the heck just happened. And a friend rang me up, and he said to me, do you want to go to Nepal Everest Base Camp? And I was like, no way, brother. I've just been out of hospital, being torn apart, no way. And then I was out there, mate, and it just hit me. It's like, life's short. You've got to take these opportunities, even though that you're scared, yeah? And I had to overcome that fear barrier. And, I become so scared of myself, and I thought I would take my life. I had to break that down. I said, no, mate, you've got to do it. So I rang him back up. I said, let's do it, bro. So 5 months after my last round of chemotherapy, I was on the plane to Nepal and Kathmandu, ready to climb up Mount Everest. And this was another real life-changing moment for me, bro. I mean, I hadn't really travelled overseas apart from Australia. So, I was ready to go. So I got picked up on this tuk-tuk, Lockie, and it was chaotic, mate. I had sensory overload, all these smells and people, and it's tuk-tuk, and I'm going through these streets, and I seen these kids, mate, and I talk about it when I stand up and talk, and they had bare feet and a singlet on, and half of them were naked and running around, and they're playing in rubbish. And they looked up and just waved to me, these beautiful white smiles. And I waved back. And I thought, holy moly, man, how lucky and grateful am I to suffer in such good conditions, yeah? When I was diagnosed, I had a hospital bed, I had food, I had my mother's hand. And these kids had absolutely nothing, playing in rubbish with their mates and still smiling and waving at me. And I thought, man, oh, man, you're lucky, bro. So that's when I really owned that moment that I was in. Every little bit, the wind on my face, and I was starting to become more aware of my environment around me, just really taking that gratitude into my heart, not into my head, but into my heart, really feeling it and just being, hey, man, this is awesome.
Why do you feel we lose the awareness of what we have around us and that gratitude? Yeah, pulling up the phone.
Yeah, I think that's a big factor, but also too, we're as I said, mate, I think often we're looking at the physical, yeah. We're really not looking inside to someone to see how they're truly feeling and outside ourselves, yeah. And this is where the magic really happens. When we put down our stuff, when we disconnect from our own internal space and just open our eyes and look around and see what we do have rather than what we don't, because we have a whole heap of stuff in front of us, mate. As you said before when we started this conversation, we love the internet, but also it can be a detriment. But there's amazing things all around us.
How do you remain present with that, even with these mobile phones suck us in like no tomorrow? And
ooh, did they what?
Yeah, being in the
amazing tools, but hey,
just can definitely steal moments of our life. For you, what are some of those tools and strategies? I know you've mentioned before you practice visualization, reading, journaling, etc. Are there any, I guess, things that have stood out for you that have helped you remain in the present as well?
Yeah, definitely, Lockie. I mean, this is not for everyone, but I kind of found God in my life, and I've got that higher presence about me, and I feel accountable for that. So I have a daily meditation. I feel it within my heart, and this is something that I would have never done beforehand, but I feel that I've got this bigger presence around me, watching me, protecting me, and I've always got the breath. I'm a breathing instructor, and I just breathe with it, and I just give thanks. It's quite an easy process whilst I'm at work or just putting my phone down. So it's just an easy little process, and I just say, oh yeah, I'm just mindful of my situation. I can put that away. I breathe in, breathe out, and just say thanks. Hey, I'm still here. Put it away and go about my day. So it's just little cues like that kind of help me and just be in that present moment and just come back to that to gratefulness and gratitude right there.
Do you feel it also helps? You said you're a breath instructor, and I've seen you in the ice bath. I do a lot of that as well. Do you feel that because you've built the life that you have? One thing that people say to me quite often, it's easy for you because you work in that space and you do that, but ultimately I made the choice to work in the field that I work in because it's something that I love. And you mentioned earlier, if you do what you love, like, you do become obsessed with it, but you really can thrive and succeed.
Yeah.
To people who say that to me, I'm like, well, if you don't like what you do, change it. Like, it may be hard. You may have mortgages and children and all these things to consider, but if it's that bad, you do have a choice, especially in Australia and New Zealand. We are very, very fortunate. Do you feel, sorry, I went on a little tangent there. Do you feel that that's been beneficial for you working in a field and now getting to share your message with helping you remain present as well, because it's that forefront of focus?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really gives me great joy seeing, or just getting emails afterwards saying, hey, your story really helped me from the brink of despair, and thank you so much. And just knowing that I've done something for someone, but still fundamentally they've got their own choice. They've chosen to listen to me and take something away. I mean, I don't have all the answers, that's for sure, but maybe they take something small away. But the truth is, mate, even if I wasn't doing this, even if I had that mundane job, I'd still make a conscious choice that I could work, that I could get some money, and then I've got a choice on how I spend that money and what I do with it, to make my situation better than what it was yesterday. And I'd still be grateful for that process, even though that I'm not enjoying it. If I had that mortgage, had the kids, I mean, it's great to do something you enjoy, but you're still responsible for your family, and it's just the perception, the mindset that you have when you undertake that job. And some people can get caught up with it. I hate it. But what is it giving you? What is it serving you? And what are you getting out of it? Ask yourself those questions. It's just the mindset we can change. Yeah. And I don't essentially have to say, up your lifestyle and change everything. Maybe just change the thought pattern towards the direction you're going.
For someone who is in that position then that doesn't want to, make a huge lifestyle change, but you talk about the mindset shifts, like is there any sort of tips and things that they could, do just from listening to this chat to help work on their mindset there?
Yeah, I think hearing stories and reading books is a great thing, mate. Especially,
you said that.
If anyone wants to start with something, read Man's Search for Meaning. I mean, that's just an incredible book. I think it's sold well over 2 million copies, and it really helped me, and it still helps me today. It's only a small book. The first half of it's an easy read, and I think people can get a lot of perspective, and it comes down to what he talks about, his choice. So for me, stories are a powerful, powerful motive of understanding perspective.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
I love reading. I think it's such a undervalued tool, especially just a nice hardcover book. There is nothing better than the smell of a book.
Mate, I got this book today, actually. Yesterday. It's called Winter Swimming the Nordic Way by Susanna Soberg, and it's this beautiful hard copy book, and it's kind of got this texture, mate, and I just love holding it in my hand, and the illustrations and pictures in it is incredible, and feels like I'm winter swimming just by reading. So yeah, it really captures your imagination as well. Books are fantastic, and that's where it comes back to that
as well.
Sorry,
you've got a book as well, yeah?
Yeah. I've written a book a few years ago.
I'm going to hit you up after and buy a few copies and hopefully get you to sign them, and we'll if that's a possibility, and we'll give them out. I'll give some out as a gift to some of the listeners, which would be epic.
Absolutely. But Man's Search for Meaning. If anyone's listening, pick that book up, give it a read. Yeah, it's a fantastic book.
And so going back to, I want to tie back into the family. So obviously you said at a younger age the relationship was a bit challenging with your dad. Mm-hmm. You had the diagnosis, and you said you saw each other at your worst, or at your most vulnerable, sorry.
Yeah.
How did you then start taking those action steps forward to really, I guess, whether it was mending or improve that relationship?
Yeah, so that didn't happen until about after my second diagnosis, when I had this pain called trigeminal neuralgia. So I went through my second diagnosis. I had an allogeneic stem cell transplant. We can talk about that later. But I had this pain in my face, and it was described as the suicide disease, which is 25% of people take their life who get it. It's just this extreme pain. Just to describe it, it's like someone's got a cheese grater behind your eye while someone's stabbing you while your face is on fire. It was horrendous. And I was on every pain medication you can think of, fentanyl, morphine, everything, mate.
How did that stop?
I went up into the ICU room, and they put a lignocaine in. It's an anaesthetic, and they put an anaesthetic within me, and it finally numbed the nerve, and it kind of subsided. I still feel a bit of like electric shock now and then, but it's nothing compared to what it was. But yeah, it was horrendous. And that's when I said to my dad, I need to die. Can you kill me? I didn't really mean it. And he just lit up, and he just hugged me. And from then we just hugged each other all the time. And, it wasn't just me, it was him as well. He understood how painful life could be, and he went through some stuff as a young kid. And we just really, really saw each other in that moment. And then we just, became really good friends. And, all the time we hug each other. And he even says to me, love you, man. Love you, mate. He's just one of my best mates, and I love him dearly. I really do. But it took a lot of time. It took a lot of time, but that moment was a catalyst to really just engaging with my dad and seeing him for who he was, that he loved me so much.
Do you feel that would have been, the relationship would be where it is now had you not gone through what you've gone through?
No, probably not, because I would have been maybe a bit egotistic, caught up in my running, maybe being that sportsman. I don't know. I always had quite a kind heart and that. But yeah, it could have been. I mean, but I think it's changed all my family a lot. We've all grown from it and we've all become a lot closer. We all understand how life can be taken away so quickly. And yeah, it's hard to say, Lockie, but I know what I've been through has certainly served a purpose within our family, and we're very, very closer for it. And we've got a special relationship.
Do you feel so now you're in the breath work and doing cold immersion? I've had a few incredible experiences with, using breath facilitators, and I'm always curious about whether we can find ways to, improve relationships with our loved ones or help us detach from ego and just become that better version of ourselves without having to go, hit that rock bottom point or be faced with death. It's something I think about a lot, and a lot of people go, nah, you have to hit rock bottom or you have to be faced with death to really be inspired to change. And
No.
I disagree. And I even feel with, methods like breath work, etc., which I've, experienced over the last couple of years. Do you feel with the level of understanding, and I assume the workshops and the people that you've led through that space, it is one of those game-changing tools to really help people sort of disconnect and really step into, I believe, their greatness?
Absolutely. It can be a big catalyst for change, because with the breath, we can fully understand that we're actually capable of more. We do this big Tumo breathing, TUMMO, what the Tibetan monks used to do up in the hills, deep hyperventilation. You might have seen Wim Hof do this breathing method, and all of a sudden we've got people holding their breath for, 2, 3, 4 minutes, and like, holy moly, I never thought I could do that. And getting them in the ice, controlling the breath and in such an extreme, uncomfortable position, but yet they're fully focused and fully controlled and fully mindful. They get out and just feel so empowered, and feeling is understanding. So coming back to the breath and putting yourself in the ice, combining that together, it really is a catalyst to change. And all of a sudden they're like, I can do more, because that self-perception of say, hey, I'm limited to a certain extent. It's like I've felt a shift go inside myself, and that feeling, you fully understand it. And it's just euphoric seeing it happen, because it changed my life significantly too. When I was in Melbourne, when I had my first ice bath, it changed my life. And I understood that I wasn't just this weak cancer patient. I was actually stronger than what I even thought I was before. I overcame it. I had heart attacks. I had a stent in my left main artery, and I got out of this ice bath and I felt like 10 men. And I just felt incredible. It's like, holy heck, I did this. What else can I do? And then you start asking questions, and that's up to them to make those choices if they want to answer those questions. And that's what I love about it, mate.
It's definitely about asking those questions and putting yourself in that position. That's why I love challenging myself physically, the ice baths. How did you get introduced to your first ice bath?
Yeah, that's a bit of a story as well. So I'll have to go back to when I had got my second diagnosis. I went to Nepal. I became a skydiver. And then when I was skydiving...
Hold up, what?
Yeah.
So you did skydiving before your second diagnosis?
Yeah, so that year in remission, I was just...
You were a badass, man.
Yeah, so I was just
awesome.
I was just ticking off my childhood dreams. It wasn't just about running. It was, what did Josh Komen want to do? And I always wanted to go to base camps in Nepal, give Sir Edmund Hillary a wave and things like that. And I wanted to be a skydiver. So I did both of them, come back to New Zealand after Nepal and went skydiving, becoming a cameraman. I was a cameraman, filming people. And then I was up in a plane one day and I got hypoxic at 16,000 feet. I had low red blood cells, and I got down to the ground and, I knew something wasn't right. So I just waited to my appointment, had my checkup, got a blood test, and sure enough, my cancer had come back. So this time it was really going to be physically extreme. I'd have to have a thing called an allogeneic stem cell transplant, which I talked about before. So because it's a blood cancer, I had to have these hemopoietic stem cells. They basically live in our bone marrow and they create our immune system. So I had to get my whole immune system obliterated from my bone marrow, just taken away. with high toxic chemotherapy with full body radiation, and the treatment's horrific. And I'd have to have these little stem cells sent over from Germany because I had a donor, a young girl, and she donated her stem cells to me to have this transplant. So I'm just going to back up a bit. So I got diagnosed. I had 2 months of treatment. It was pretty rough. But then on my second round of treatment, mate, I developed neutropenic sepsis, and basically that's, I'm neutropenic and I've got a bacteria in my blood, and I got sent up to ICU and I got put on life support. And the doctors told my parents, hey, there's a good chance he won't wake up. You might want to say goodbye. And, I had the thing down my throat and I was just a mess, mate. And thank God I did wake up after 10 days, and I was just a weak alien, bald head, my eyes were full red. I couldn't talk. I was about 51 kg, I think. I couldn't walk. My brother pushed me around. And the process, bro, before having a transplant, you have 2 months after your normal round of treatment. You have 2 months off to recover, to get ready for the treatment and have the transplant. I was on ICU, couldn't walk, couldn't talk, and I had 2 weeks to get ready for this transplant. So I was like, holy moly, what do I do? So all I knew what to do was go outside, get the fresh air on me. I used to just visualize and pray and just sit there every day, just trying to see myself happy and healthy again. Built up to my treatment, had really high toxic chemotherapy combined with full body irradiation, which they just eradicated my immune system so it wouldn't grow back. So to describe it, it's like chucking Roundup on me times 10, so nothing would grow back. It's like a nuclear bomb. So then these little stem cells would come to me from Germany, from the young girl who donated them to me, and repopulate a new immune system to grow everything. So that started to happen, but having a woman donor, I got this side effect called graft versus host disease, because it wasn't a complete match. So it started attacking my body, and you can see my skin and everything like that. It's kind of pigmented, and I was really gluing myself together, and it was in my stomach, and I was just shitting myself about 50 times a day, and it was just horrendous. So they kind of got it under control with medication, high steroids and immunosuppressants, and I was in hospital for about a year, just in and out with many, many complications. And finally I had to get out and kind of recover a bit more, get better. And then I got that trigeminal neuralgia that we spoke about earlier, that face pain, that GVHD, the graft versus host disease, just flared up, and the steroids and immunosuppressants weren't doing its job. And then I had to get sent to Melbourne in Australia in 2017 to get treatment for this GVHD. And this was another tough time in my life because I got sent over there and I was really weak and I had no family. I had a few friends around, but obviously they're working and that, but I lived over there by myself. I was getting treatment 3 times a week. And my mate sent me this link about Wim Hof and watched the Vice doc. I thought, that's cool. And I started doing these cold showers and breathing. And then I went to one of his retreats. He was in there. It was the first time he was ever in Australia, and I was lucky enough to get on the retreat, and I went there. In the morning I woke up, I had a massive heart attack. Didn't even attend the retreat. The ambulance came, took me to Geelong Hospital, and took me to Peter McCullum Cancer Centre where I was getting treatment, and then went to Royal Melbourne Cardiac Unit. And I was in there for 24 days where I had about 12 heart attacks. I had a dozen heart attacks. And they didn't know what to do with me. The reason why I sat there for so long is because my skin and everything had kind of glued itself together. So the GVHD was gluing my body together. It's called scleroderma. So it's a thickening of the skin and building up collagen. And I basically was like the Tin Man of the Wizard of Oz, just really stuck in my body. So they didn't know whether to give me a heart bypass or stent my left main artery. So I sat there turning the ECG machines upside down for like 24 days, mate. And I wrote the doctor a letter, and I said to the doctor, I said, "Listen, mate, I don't care if you live or die. Just make a decision, back yourself, just do it." And next day,
that's what you said to the doctor.
Yeah, so I said in the letter, I said, "Learn from me as a patient. Just learn from me. If I die, learn from me as a patient." Yeah. So I sent him, give it to the nurse. He gave it to the doctor. Next day, had a heart attack. He put me in the cath lab, stented my left main, and all of a sudden, I spent a couple more days there, and I was out of hospital. So
far out.
Yeah. So that was about 6-7 years into my journey.
What's have they told you what your heart's like now?
Yeah, it's good. I didn't really have any heart damage because a heart attack is different from a cardiac arrest. Yeah, it was restricted blood flow as opposed to no blood flow.
Okay.
So I had no heart damage, thank goodness.
That is unbelievable.
But yeah, I had this when I had it was just intense pain in my chest, man, and it was just flipping. So that was after 7 years, and what the heck's going on, you know? And I was quite depressed in Melbourne as well, and suicidal, and asking myself, but I always had that love in my heart, my mum's heart, and I kept praying and meditating and doing all those 1%ers that we spoke about earlier, just keep doing them, turning up for myself. And then I had those heart attacks, got out. And then I got into a gym. It's called Fifth Element Wellness, and it's based in Melbourne, outside of Brunswick there, in Fitzroy. And this place was quite incredible. It had gut health, it had the gym, it had saunas, it had ice bath, it had Dave O'Brien and Anthony Messino, two amazing guys, and they just uplifted my whole health. So this was the first time, apart from I was doing a bit of yoga, trying to change my diet and things, but it really wasn't working. But now I had this base where I could really understand more, and I just immersed myself in it, and that's where I had my first proper ice bath with a couple of friends. It was at my good mate's, Mark Claw. He's got a men's retreat place. You might want to have a chat to him, actually.
Definitely.
Out in Hepburn, an incredible guy. I'll talk to you about him afterwards. At his house, big bearded man. He was an ex-plumber, but he's got this massive heart, mate. And he said, Joshy, we're going around having an ice bath, mate. We're going to fucking do it, mate. He's right into it, you know. We're fucking doing it.
Yes. Yeah.
So he brings me round. Mark Mullen, he was the Australian kickboxing champ, and Dave O'Brien, who was the owner of the gym, big guys, and I was a skinny 53, 54 kg guy. Like, what the fuck are you thinking, man? You've just had a heart attack. Now you're going to get in this 2-degree ice bath. But the thing was, mate, I was desperate, and I'm a guy who wants to know why. So I've dug deeper into the science, and I've understood there's a whole heap of health benefits here. So I've got to try this. I have to try. Fuck the fear. Get in there and do it. So I got my breathing under control. We did the breathing, got in there, and I was just fully focused, and I was fully aware, fully present of my internal self. Got out, mate, and I just felt so good, you know. And it was the first time I'd run in about 6-7 years. We had a 30-meter corridor, and I was just running up there, thinking I was running on the track again, you know. And I hadn't done that, and I had this genuine smile on my face, mate, and I was just so happy. And I was like, holy moly, mate, you thought you were going to die in there, but you didn't, you know. And you chose to go in there, and you chose to take control, and you got out, and you feel incredible. So I've become addicted. It's my daily practice, cold showers in the morning. I do workshops, and I've been doing this for 5 years, mate. So, it's changed my life. And all of a sudden I was looking up and talking to people and engaging, and I just wasn't worrying it. You know, I thought I was weak, but I told myself I was strong. And this is always this is something that I tell everyone. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, despite that it's a cliche. So 6 months after that first ice bath, I was sitting on the plane going over the treatment to Melbourne, and I sat next to this beautiful girl, and I just said hello. And mate, she's a stunner. She's an absolute stunner. And I just said hello, and I wouldn't have done that before. And she said hello back, and we had a lot in common. And she asked me what I was doing in Melbourne, and I said, I'm seeing my brother, which I was. He was living there at the time. He recently moved over there, and we got talking a bit more, and it turned out that she was a cancer nurse, an oncology nurse.
No way.
Yeah. And I said, listen, I'm actually getting some cancer. It is cancer treatment, but I'm getting this treatment for graft versus host disease, which she'd heard of, but she hadn't heard of the treatment because she's worked in that realm before, that space. And I said to her, it's a great pickup line, bro. I said, do you want to come and see my treatment?
So a lot of blokes are taking note right now.
Yeah, not a good line to say to invite someone to the cancer centre, but she said, yeah, sure. But I thought she was just being polite, you know, being nice to me, and sure enough, she wouldn't. Told her my address where I was staying, and you know, 10 o'clock that day, here she was outside. So I knew she was true to her word, which was one of my values, you know, being accountable for what you say. That's a big value of mine. And I thought, holy heck, this girl's true to her word. So we went there. And to this day, it was the first time my treatment had been delayed. It was at 10, had to get moved to 1 o'clock. So we unfortunately for her, she had to hang out with me in the morning. We had a coffee and we had a lot in common. And we spent the week together. At the end of the week, we shared a bit of a kiss, and I went off, and we kept talking, and she flew over to New Zealand to see me, and the rest is history. We've been married now for 2.5 years, and we've just had a wee daughter about 3-4 weeks ago.
Congratulations. That is the perfect thing of life happening for you. Like, geez.
Yeah, bro.
It's a beautiful story, man. How has it been becoming a father?
It's incredible. It's something that sorry, mate.
You're right. Take your time.
It's just something that I couldn't even fathom in my life, mate. I got told I couldn't have kids, and my little daughter's been stored on ice for 11 years, and I know it's a cliche, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, and something significantly profound happened to me. I met Sybil and had my wee girl, and I couldn't even visualise that, mate. I really couldn't. And here it is, and it's just changed me so much. It really has just been responsible for this little life that I see, and words can't express how I feel. I'm so sorry, but when I talk about the whole story, and it's not into the detail of I thought I would when I do my talks, but you get to the end and you think, holy heck, mate, holy heck, how did you get here? And it's just that courage to continue that really counts, because if I hadn't found that courage with all the tools that I'd acquired, with all the love that I've had behind me, using my strength and talking to people, I wouldn't be here today and having the life that I'm living, mate. I'm truly blessed.
And what a bloody role model she has as well. Hey,
she's my teacher now, mate. She's teaching me.
A lot of my mates have said, since they've recently had children in the last 12 months, and it's like you get to relive your childhood again now, like with just the curiosity and the excitement they have for life that many of us have lost. So getting to relive that now through a different set of eyes is pretty special. Yeah.
They normally say, what is it? You're the age that the people you associate yourself around. So I'm associating myself with a 3-month-old girl. So I feel quite young and juvenile.
Genius.
It's great.
What would be some advice you would have given your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Things change. Don't be afraid. Yeah. Make a plan, but don't fall in love with the plan. Yeah. That's something that I would say to him, Make that plan, set those goals, go after them, but don't fall in love with them. Yeah, understand that it may change, but it doesn't define you. Yeah. So make that plan, but don't fall in love with it. That's what I would say to him in one quick sentence. Yeah. I love setting goals. I'm all about them, but you've got to maintain being adjusted. Understand that, hey, if that doesn't go right, I've got to go this way. And something else may come from that. Something else will come from that. I guarantee that.
Who has been someone over the last 10 years who's been extremely influential on the man that you've become today?
Who in particular? That's so hard to answer, Lockie. There's been so many people in my life that I'm truly, truly grateful for in my life. My dad, my brother, my good friend Hamish, a workmate Bobby Boswick, people who set real core values in my life. But as I said earlier, I found God in my journey through my suffering, and that's been probably the main figure in my life that I've tried to adhere to in a way. Whether you believe or not, I just think it's a great thing to think that someone's watching you and that you are accountable for your actions. So that's kept me honest in a sense, So that's, yeah.
It's definitely important to know that we are accountable for our actions, the good, bad, and everything in between.
Yeah.
Too many of us definitely pass responsibility and look to blame everyone else.
For sure.
The easy option. In regards to leukemia and things like that, is there anything that is, because you found out not recovering and things like that? Is there ways that we can get tested or anything like that, or is it sort of just?
Yeah, I think if it's hereditary, there are some leukemic blood cancers that are hereditary. Mine wasn't. Mine was just spontaneous and random.
Yep.
For leukemia, no, there's no particular blood test that you can do to find out if it's there, or you'll find out if you have it. There are other cancers like prostate cancer and things you can get like screenings and stuff, which I encourage men to do. But yeah, leukemia, no, yeah, it may be hereditary, but hey, what I said to a conversation the other day, everyone's got cancer in a way. We're all finite beings, and yeah, we've all got limited time on this earth, so I think we should make the most of our opportunities and the life that we're living. It doesn't have to be being the best runner or anything, just being the best you, tuning up for yourself, seeking opportunities for tomorrow. Yeah.
Love that, mate. Josh, thank you so much for your time, mate. It's been eye-opening. It's been inspiring. You truly are an incredible role model, and I feel very privileged to have been able to have this conversation with you, and I'm fucking excited for people to be listening to this, because your story is one that I think a lot of people will take a lot of inspiration from, and it'll even, hopefully, I believe it will get a lot of people stepping outside their comfort zone and getting them living their life on their own terms, which is what we need, man.
On their own terms, I love that. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and that's what it's about. We all got our stories, and I love what you're doing, mate. I mean, I've listened to a few of your podcasts, and you've got some great guests. You share some great content, and people can listen to a podcast, which is great, and they can take what they want from it. It's their choice. It comes down to their choice. And so thanks for doing what you're doing, bro. I mean, it's awesome. You've done how many podcasts? About 400 or something?
Yeah, something. They're stacking up. I'm very fortunate to get to talk to incredible people like yourself.
Yeah, and likewise, mate. I mean, yeah, Lachlan Stuart, the man of Brisbane. I mean, my sister knew all about you.
Mate, and hopefully one day we get to get a surf in or a running session or something. We're 3 hours away. Yeah, I've
just started back doing a bit of running. I do a lot of coaching. I coach a lot of young adults, kids and things like that. But I can't surf because I don't produce tears. You might have seen me sipping a lot. I don't produce saliva in that. So I get in that salt water and it just mucks my eyes out. I've tried with goggles and they smash them off. And yeah, so it really hurts my eyes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So the body's changed a bit, but you adapt to it and you do what you can, not what you can't. And yeah, so that's me right now.
Great perspective. And where can people get in contact with you, find out more about what you're doing, get your book, all of those things, Josh?
You can go to www.joshkomen.com. There's my website there. There's my offerings there. I do ice bath workshops. I've got a book. I do motivational talks. And I also do one-on-one breathing. It could be sports performance, it could be health issues, anything like that. So that's kind of me, joshkomen.com. I'm pretty active on Instagram. You can contact me there. I'll try to reply the best I can. But yeah, that's me, mate. And I'm just hanging out on the west coast of the South Island. A beautiful, majestic place, and I'm just loving life, mate.
Oh, epic. Mate, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Not a problem, brother. Good to see you.
What an episode. Remember, share this one on your socials for those in your network that you believe will gain some value from it. Do something today to be better for tomorrow. Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachlan Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.